sure whether Makhala is limping or not. She probably should be, because she recently had a horse riding accident where she broke her back in 4 places. And I know me, like most boys, when I stub my toe, I'm a bit of a sook and I carry on for days about it. But here's a young lady who takes everything in her stride. She doesn't whinge about the adversities she's faced in her relative short years. But she knows that these speed bumps that life occasionally puts in front of us are only short term and can be overcome. Please welcome to the microphone, Makhala Swinson.
This evening, I'm going to tell you a story. This story is about a girl. To start from the beginning, this girl had a very well-structured life, loving parents, a good home. She was smart and she always brought the best at anything she put her mind to. She never did things in half. This one day would come back to haunt her. When she was 12, she was put into a situation that no 12-year-old should ever have to face. For 3 years, the trauma that this girl went through marked the end of her childhood and the beginning of hell. She had no idea how to get out of the situation. She couldn't tell anyone. She'd lost confidence and she felt worthless. You would think that a girl going through this would stick out in the crowd. You would think that she would show some pretty drastic signs that something was wrong. What if I told you nobody noticed? What if I told you that this girl's life, no one knew what to look for? Her parents, as loving and as caring as they are, thought that she was just a typical teenager, withdrawing, becoming silent. What they missed was just how much she was hurting. In 2009, she was admitted to the Brisbane Adolescent Mental Unit. She had begun to disassociate. To those who don't know what this means, imagine doing something and not remembering it. To imagine this girl's disassociation, well, imagine waking up needing stitches. Imagine having to go to the hospital at 2 a.m. in the morning and explain to them why you cut yourself, when in all honesty you couldn't remember. After this, it was decided that this girl was now a high threat to herself and to others. It was said that the hospital was the only place that she could be contained, which brought up a whole new problem. See, while she was in hospital, she developed what was said to be a minor eating disorder. Nobody treated it seriously. Her hospital stay was cut short. 3 weeks into it, it was deemed the hospital couldn't help her by her own mother. All that they were doing was giving her different medications, which only elevated the situation. They had turned it into something that no one would want to claim as their daughter. She was her on the outside, but a different person on the inside. Her experience traumatized her. It turned her against anything to do with medications. Even vitamins were scary. She didn't like the feeling of being out of control of her emotions. Disassociation was one thing, but having no control at any time was a complete and total other. The amount of boxes that she was put in while in Brisbane was inconceivable, especially for a teenager with no understanding of the words mentally ill. She was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, disassociation, and minor anorexia. These are the boxes she had to overcome. She did not know that at this time, but now that she was at the adolescent mental ward, it was almost impossible to get her out. Her mother had to form a team in Rockhampton of medical and psychological backups before she was even allowed to go home. With much effort, this was achieved. Fast forwarding about a year, she was now 16. She spent 6 months in a general paediatric ward after what was deemed a phase became a life-threatening very quickly, plummeting to a weight that wasn't safe for even a 12-year-old. Everyone had given up. This girl was not coming out of this alive. No way, no how. It was impossible. Her vitals had dropped to almost comatose level. Tomorrow wouldn't seem to come. Hi, my name's Makhala, and I survived. All up, I've spent I spent nearly 3 years in a hospital. I spent my 16th, 17th, and 18th birthday in a hospital ward. I've had relapse after relapse, and each time I've come out stronger. It has made me who I am today. Unfortunately, my story isn't an isolated case. During both my stays in youth mental health wards and paediatric wards, I formed many bonds with fellow patients who confided their stories in me. Their experience that they shared had horrendous similarities. They were all heartbreaking. Some of these people were too afraid to even tell their counsellors. Each of these children was stuck in their own private hell. If you know someone that seems to be acting out of character, don't minimise it and conclude that it's something they'll grow out of, or that they're attention seeking. Attention seeking is something that is taken out of context. If someone's crying out for help, chances are they need help. And many times this goes unnoticed and ignored. Take a moment and talk to that person. You could save their life. Did you know that 40% of our population will at some point be diagnosed with a mental health disorder? Or that the number one cause of death in our youth under 25 is suicide? The problem we have in society today is that nobody talks about mental health, which means no one talks about recovery either. I've told you about my life before, and now I'll tell you about my recovery and my life today. Today, I will tell you that no matter how bad things get, once you've hit rock bottom, the only way is up. And even if you do take a few steps back, those steps forward won't seem as hard or as daunting as the first time. In Rockhampton, we have very little support for young people with mental health problems. Sending a child to Brisbane for help shouldn't be something that happens as regularly as it does. The Headspace Centre, which is going to be opened in Rockhampton, is a massive step towards improving our community. Having a place where young people can simply drop in and have a chat doesn't have the same stigma that making an appointment and visiting the psychologist does. I sometimes wonder if I had something like this at my hands earlier, would I have been treated? Could have all of the hospital trips been avoided if I had received help at an earlier stage of my illness? The past 3 years, I don't claim to be recovered. I don't claim to be better, but I am on the recovery road. I think of life as a journey. I take each day as it comes. I have studied and completed my certificate for mental health. I now work as a youth worker, looking after kids who are just like I used to be. I've enrolled in STEPS, and I'll be studying psychology, hopefully this time next year. Today, I don't take life for granted. I know what it's like to feel like life isn't worth living. I know that no problem is so bad that ending your life is the only option. No matter how bad things may seem, they will get better. Less than 3 months ago, I broke my back. At this time, I didn't think life could possibly get any worse. The doctors told me all the worst case scenarios. No, I didn't paralyze myself, but I was told I might walk with a limp. If I rolled over in bed while I was sleeping, I might not be able to walk when I woke up. You know, basic stuff. Instead of thinking negatively, I took the positive stance. I did the best to focus on my recovery and not to think of all the things that could go wrong. As a result, I've come out of my brace earlier than expected. My body healed faster, and I was able to get back to the things that I love doing quicker. Somebody once told me, difficult things in life don't come to destroy you. They come to help you realize your hidden potential. Thank you for listening, and thank you for helping us raise the funds that our community needs to help our youth.
What an amazing young woman. I'm sure it took a lot of courage to come up and speak to us like that, and thank you, Makhala. And I think it's very true that one of the things I took on board then, that Makhala's health problems are not an isolated issue. There are many young people out in the community that suffer these things, and Headspace certainly will do a lot for these young people. So once again, thank you, Makhala, and we've got some flowers here from Min, one of our committee members.